Thank you. I recognize the member for the 2nd District, Honourable Melvin Turnbull.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to give my contribution to the Virgin Islands Police Amendment Act 2024. And Madam Speaker, I must first state that I stand against and not in support of the enforcement of this act in its current form, Madam Speaker, because when we had the vote, my position was and still is that as representatives of the people, as legislators, Madam Speaker, we did not have the time and the proper opportunity to do the job for which we are elected, which is to educate the public and to make them aware of the implications of this bill in its current form. Madam Speaker, the Honourable member on my right, at-large territorial member, Deputy Speaker, spoke about the time, because I understand the Premier usually says, Madam Speaker, when he gets up to speak, when the cameras are on, the opposition put on a show. Well, Madam Speaker, that's what the Premier says, but he doesn't look at himself. So I want to let him know what I see and what I saw earlier today. You put on a show, sir. Quite a show indeed. You touched the hearts, you pulled on the emotions, and you had a lot of misinformation mixed up in between, Madam Speaker, because if you will listen to him and you just took it, every word, and you just swallow it, Madam Speaker, man, you mash up. What Madam Speaker, the Premier said, and I understand he has a job to do, to try to move his business along. So he said we had enough time, and he looked at me when he said, because he know I like the carol, he know I like the Christmas. I like the Christmas like he like the party them, but it's, you know, we like what we like. Can't blame a man for liking what he likes. And Madam Speaker, he said I could have cut out some of the caroling and go down to talk to the people in George Van Dyke and King Gad and Bruce Bay about this bill. But Madam Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, who is my representative, pointed out that we only had 7 days. And if I count those 7 days, Madam Speaker, I too would have seen the Premier at least 4 out of them 7 days. I don't know in 3 days if he get to people in 7th District, but you'll talk to them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this bill, in all seriousness, I understand the importance of what we're trying to do. But I also must, Madam Speaker, acknowledge the wisdom of those men on the wall, too specifically, that I was here for from 2015 until now, that would have allowed and ensured that the Police Acts and its amendments since 2013 that have been brought before the House of Assembly did not pass because they were not comfortable with it. And now there's a third member, which is now the Premier, who is forging ahead. Madam Speaker, Dr. D. Orlando Smith and Andrew A. Foy were the 2 men that I'm referring to who were former premiers of this territory. And I was here in 2015 to 2019. I was also here in 2019 to 2023. And the same Premier was the deputy premier at one time. This is the premier now. Just in case he forgot, because I know sometimes when you move on up, you forgot where you came from. And he was a part of the same cabinet that ensured that what was being proposed didn't make it any further. But now he's here saying we have to do it, and we have to do it now because of all the things that are affecting us. And Madam Speaker, I am grateful. Remember for the third, the Deputy Premier said he liked my tie. But let me tell you what I'm grateful for. Yeah, I heard you. It's orange and black. And I am grateful today, Madam Speaker, because the Premier, Dr. the Honourable Natalia Whitley, usually says about maturity. He talks about maturity, and you know, when it's applicable to him, he highlights it and he tries to downplay us and highlights what I mean. But I understand again. But I am especially glad today, Madam Speaker, that the member for the tour, Deputy Premier, is in green. For if one day, I'm glad he in green. Because my God, some wisdom was shared. Because, Madam Speaker, when the Premier introduced this bill, you thought we had not a choice. But to hear the wisdom from this man in green, 100, well, I don't know where PU gone today, but I know the man in the suit. Green suit, the only one over there in green. I ain't watching on a shot. I'm watching a green suit, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Deputy Premier did a stellar job. And I want to say so, all jokes aside, because it is not just to move the agenda along. But we must be mindful, Madam Speaker, of what is being proposed and what they are expecting us to do in this territory as legislators. This law in its current form, Madam Speaker, we are expected to criminalize the entire public of the Virgin Islands, including ourselves. That's what's here. And I am happy that the Deputy Premier took the time to go through each and every clause, because I had them highlighted, just as you went through them. So I want to especially thank you, sir, for your wisdom. For your, well, you said you didn't read it. That was your words, Honourable Deputy Premier. You said it. Which further lets me to know that maybe the man before you didn't read it. But I don't know. You work it out over there. Okay. Madam Speaker, this bill is colorful. And let me say what I mean. The objects and reasons, Madam Speaker, when you read it, it's filled with high-tech attachments. So it makes you want to feel fearful that mutual evaluation, all the things that are necessary for us to continue in this territory and operate, the FATF reports, all the things that threatens any nation's security and its well-being. But, Madam Speaker, the objects and reasons is crafted in a way that it's tied to this and it's tied to that, so you must do it. It's almost like a financial services bill. When you're not, it's a livelihood of your territory, so you must do it. But, Madam Speaker, when you go through the objects and reasons and you go through the bill itself, you're wondering, if I didn't read this thing and I just read what they put in there for us, you go down the road and you hear, you could get a man, an officer, come into your house, plant, remember for the 6 pair, a bug, but they don't plant a bug, they can plant a bugs. A lot of cockroaches will meet you the place. In your house, use against you unbeknownst to you. And then if for whatever reason, walking backwards in this bed 38L, it is found that you did not conduct yourself accordingly, you're free from being prosecuted. You turn God, so you could do the wrong thing and be right. And we must put this in the law. We who the people them elect. Madam Speaker, Let me take time. Let us take time. Madam Speaker, let me start by highlighting what I believe are some of the pros, if I was to call it that, in what this piece of legislation or bill is trying to do. I appreciate, Madam Speaker, that we must continue to enhance the investigative powers. So, on one hand, Madam Speaker, it provides for giving the police more tools, more resources to do their job. And those tools are listed out, but when I go on the cons, you'll see them there. So if I list out under the pros, Madam Speaker, it talks about tools such as electronic surveillance, covert operations to effectively investigate and prosecute serious crime. That sounds good, Madam Speaker, on the surface. Then the electronic surveillance, you look at the international cooperation, it allows for the better cooperation with foreign law enforcement agency, which is crucial, Madam Speaker, for tackling transnational crimes. Sounds good. Compliance with international standards, Madam Speaker, another pro, because you're dealing with deficiencies highlighted by the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, aligning the Virgin Islands legal framework with international standards. Madam Speaker, sounds good. All sounds good. But Madam Speaker, if I flip the script, these same things that I have listed as pros, I have them listed again as cons in how they are stated in this piece of legislation. And Madam Speaker, I want to just go because sometimes people forget that the Premier, he went through his spiel there. It was in February 17th, 2021. That I got up in this honorable house and I read in the contributions for other business something that I am going to read now so that persons in the territory understand, that the opposition members also understand, and I believe all of us should understand and appreciate the importance of tackling criminality and criminal activities in our territory. Madam Speaker, on February 17, 2021, I wrote and read, in response to the recent acts of violence, murder, hurt, and abuse in our territory, I want to let you know that I firmly stand opposed to every aspect of it. I begin by expressing my condolences for the families of the late Earl Bob Hodge, Rodney Millard Simmons, Andrew Skerritt, Everton E.T. McMaster, Matthew Shorty Daly, George Shawala Burrows, and other persons. Madam Speaker, and the other persons, if I put a ... from 2021 to now, look at how many persons that we have lost to violent crimes. So it is not lost on me or lost on anybody, Madam Speaker, and I didn't appreciate what was done by the Honourable Premier to try to make it look as if we had some opposition or some fear, Madam Speaker, to enforce the elements of powers to the members of the authorities from the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force to deal with criminal activity. But Madam Speaker, balance is important. So Madam Speaker, in this bill, it is crucial that the citizens of this territory, Madam Speaker, understand that there is a lack of transparency in this bill. Madam Speaker, without properly educating the public. And Madam Speaker, I'm hoping that the public, I've been in a few of my chats in my constituency since we had lost the vote to pursue this bill and go through the first, second, and third reading, so persons will be able to understand and pay attention to what is happening. But Madam Speaker, if we are not able to educate the public, Madam Speaker, it further erodes the trust between the law enforcement and the community. So in order to be transparent, Madam Speaker, it is essential that we maintain the public confidence. And if we are honest with ourselves, Madam Speaker, we know that that public confidence has been lost. It's lost, Madam Speaker, on our part as legislature, and it's lost even more on the parts of the persons who are responsible for enforcing the law in the sense of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and those authorities. Madam Speaker, there's also a loss of trust, because in certain parts of this bill, it talks about the Commissioner of Police having to give authority to the other enforcement agencies, Customs, Immigration, and FIA, when we know what pertains in this territory. We know what happened. There's a breakdown of trust, Madam Speaker. There's a breakdown of communication because we don't feel that our people are good enough. We have been labeled, Madam Speaker, as criminals. We have been labeled as corrupt. We have been labeled as a lot of things, and Madam Speaker, they're putting it in so many different ways and using so many different synonyms that we are starting to believe it. And our people are starting to believe it, Madam Speaker. So you tell me which commissioner, especially the one that just gone here, just leave there the other day. He was going to give which commissioner of customs or immigration or FIA authority to do their job when they don't feel like they're top notch. And even down to the deputy, them don't even trust. Because them look like we. But we got to untalk the thing today. I have melanin. You have? Madam Speaker, every person in this territory is not a criminal. There are some persons in this territory that do and participate in criminal activities. They need to be rooted out. But to put, as the member for the third and deputy premier said, and the member for the sixth also said it, Madam Speaker, to put certain aspects and clauses in this bill for people who got sense, not just common sense, but educated sense, to go past, to go mash up our people, Madam Speaker. Who? Me? I quit a run King Army. And tell her, not me. Madam Speaker, we can't do this. And then the potential for abuse. You have unchecked powers, Madam Speaker. This bill is giving significant powers to law enforcement. Same electronic surveillance, covert operations without public awareness. It gives a risk, Madam Speaker, that these powers can be abused. Madam Speaker, let's follow what has been happening. Let's follow the trends of what been happening. You say, this is a problem. I don't sit in the National Security Council. But they come up with a strategy. I understand your strategy, but you need to put it in legislation. But then the legislation that you're proposing, Madam Speaker, violates the law of the land, the main law of the land, which is the Constitution. And you're hoping that we ain't reading enough or paying attention enough to see that, Madam Speaker, this legislation or bill in itself, Madam Speaker, from Section 9 of the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007 all the way to Section 34, Madam Speaker, for rights and freedoms, right down to the Human Rights Commission that is supposed to be set up, Madam Speaker. This bill in its How much pages is that? Outside of the objects and reading, this 13 pages of amendment violates from 9 to 34. Rights and freedoms. Rights to reserve liberties. Rights to prisoners, the human threat. Deprivation of property. Protection and discrimination, Madam Speaker, because this piece of legislation gives the members who are called authorities or approved authorities, Madam Speaker, the free will to go after who they want, how they want, when they want, without your say. So you're guilty, 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 guilty. And Madam Speaker, if it happens to be foul play, you know what I can say? I'm immune. Madam Speaker, this kind of thing, if we pass it here, a man say in a video I see, this is what you need to get your head bust for doing if we do this. Bust your head, Madam Speaker, if you do something like this in this form, Madam Speaker, because you are criminalizing all people. Madam Speaker, then you look at the impact, as I said, on civil liberties, Madam Speaker. Extensive surveillance. You mean to tell me that if we were to pass this law, the way it is, and the first man that scream out, this is what happened, and then you got to go back to them and say, yeah, we passed it in the House Assembly. And I put you to that to represent me, and you ain't see this, and you ain't read this, and you ain't think this was a problem? Or until it get to one of our family members. Because remember, you know, all of we accorded them corrupt. We ain't good enough, Madam Speaker, to have this BVI that our foreparents built. And they see us in a certain way, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the depth that the member for the 6 went through to cross-reference the different pieces of legislations that pertain in the United Kingdom. And the Deputy Premier, Madam Speaker, he in the cupboard, I want the cupboard. Me, man, I don't in the cupboard. You in the cabinet. 2 years now in this cabinet. We want the cupboard. Short time. Madam Speaker, the Deputy Premier said, when he was here on this side, he was looking at the government and telling him, I don't bring them things on here, I should read them. And now he's there, he said something changed. But then he says, Madam Speaker, we have to fix it because it can't go so. So the Premier said, let me go so. The Deputy Premier said, it can't go so. Where are we going? I ain't going nowhere, Madam Speaker, until we do the work. Until we do the work, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the community of this territory, we continue to be on a rapid pace to try to keep up with the regulations of what is going on internationally. And we have to, Madam Speaker, because we are in an international business. But Madam Speaker, what I'm finding difficult, Madam Speaker, is that while we are on this rapid pace to keep up with these international standards and to maintain the revenues that we receive from financial services and maintain what is happening around the world with anti-money laundering and illicit activities, Madam Speaker, we can't forget how this BVI was built and who built it. And who built this BVI, Madam Speaker, ain't the people that understand nothing about the international standards if we don't teach them and tell them what we're doing. Take the time to educate our people, Madam Speaker. Take the time to explain to them, listen, this is where we are with financial services. This is your business head, but this is how I need to help you get there. Madam, I can keep looking at you. Mr. Speaker, I apologize. And I see you went up there too. Maybe I'll see properly. Mr. Speaker, we have to take the time to educate and bring our people along so they understand what is happening. Because if you're busy chasing this dollar, and you miss educating the people that keep your economy afloat, what are you going to have? Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, without a vision, the people perish. Without the people, the vision perishes. We got to educate our people. Mr. Speaker, so if I go in the bill, and members would have highlighted it, but I read it and I prepared, so I'm going to go through it, Mr. Speaker. 35B, witness statements. That's on page 2. Mr. Speaker, it is allowing and giving the police the authority to take and store witness statements, including audio and video recordings, which, unchecked with the proper scrutiny and proper accountability, Madam Speaker, could impact persons' privacy rights. Madam Speaker, I applaud the members of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force that are doing their job and wearing the crown on their shoulder with honor. But just like persons in this society, Madam Speaker, there are those who fall short. But Madam Speaker, if you just let it be that this information is stored without proper checks and balances and accountability factor, what is to stop somebody who have an issue in this close-knit society that we have here in the BVI? I might cut you off today and you decide again, a little trouble there, you got my evidence, and then time come, my statement disappear. Because people said this is not appear. Madam Speaker, what happened to me? And where's the channels, Madam Speaker? It can't just be to the commissioner. Because the commissioner enforcing this. And Mr. Speaker, it leads me to, listen, everything I have here said, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it leads me to the point of what they had intended to do after the events of April 2020. They intended to have this singular rulership in this territory. Even though the 13 of us over here, even though the people elected 13 members in 2023, they're still on this agenda, Mr. Speaker, in this mindset that they want to have this ultimate control, and we're not good enough. So we're going to put it in legislation, and we're going to put it to you, and you put it to the people, and you pass it in the House Assembly because there's a deadline. I ain't going to be dead at the line. I'm going to fight. And Mr. Speaker, we must all fight. 35C, interviews and oral admissions. Without the proper training, without the proper balance, without the proper accountability, Mr. Speaker, if you have mandatory recordings of interviews and the presence of counsel, Mr. Speaker, if I am coerced to say certain things in an interview, that I wouldn't have said if I had an attorney present. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that could work against me. And it could cause me to fall victim to my own demand because I didn't know better. So I am being coerced to give information that will work against me. And this is what they want us to pass, Joseph? Unchecked, Mr. Speaker. Member 46 went through covert operation. Mr. Speaker, 38H. I understand they have a job to do. But if you're going to do your job, 38, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I skipped over. 38B. 38B. Authorization for control delivery. Further violation, as I said, Constitution. Because if you put this in place, it could lead to entrapment. And Mr. Speaker, how many of the people in our territory, matter of fact, how many of us in this Honourable House as legislators understand and could appreciate all the laws that we have on the book? Not one, including the lawyer in the room. But then this applies to every single citizen in this territory, Mr. Speaker, educated or not, that could be compromised if this is executed in this form. So it's threatening, Mr. Speaker, this closing, quote unquote, of the reins, that if this piece of the items in this bill, the way they are, you're asking for a police state, and you're giving every intention. Mr. Speaker, you said that when you give a child a homework and you go through it, your teacher go through it, tell you correct it, you come back. You ain't do nothing, but you bring it back and you're expecting to get a pass. Mr. Speaker, I'm reminded of a message that this particular student decided that he was so educated, he didn't need to come to class because he learned differently, according to him. So he was told that we have an assignment to do X, Y, and Z. He asked for the details, he went off, and he did his assignment. When it come time for grading, Mr. Speaker, the teacher, professor then took his paper, checked off. Excellent research. Excellent use of the vocabulary. Excellent topic and theme and body. Excellent conclusion. But Mr. Speaker, on the top of the page, that student got an F with a circle around it. And the student is wondering, well, how I could get all these excellence and then an F with a circle around it? And a simple note said, this was not the assignment. You do good work, you know. Wrong assignment. Mr. Speaker, our assignment is to ensure that we are protecting, educating, informing the people of this territory. You can't say you're going to deal with criminals, highlight the various crimes that are happening in this territory, highlight how many cases and murder cases are unsolved, and then throw everybody in a basket to become a criminal. Don't go after who you're going after. I for that. Because this society of the BVI continues to change. So I for not allowing our rights and freedoms to be destroyed because of criminal activity and illicit activity, Mr. Speaker. But I'm not for putting everybody in a basket and throwing them in jail and you got to fight your way out. Because which one of our people, Mr. Speaker, is going to be able, if they are wrongfully jailed, which one of them will be able to have the resources to sue the government? Which one? How many of them, Mr. Speaker? And is that us doing our job to represent people? Mr. Speaker, I'm almost done. This electronic surveillance. Remember for the 6th again, he highlighted it. Remember for the 3rd, Deputy Premier. Electronic surveillance. Violating your privacy rights again. I understand covert operations and you're doing this thing, but how is it being done? I am making it legal for you to break into my house and tap my phone, tap my house, because you in your mind feel a certain way? Or in your mind you believe I am a criminal, so I shouldn't have what I have? I got a house, you have a flat. And it's okay. But then when the reference is made, again, the balance is made to what pertains, because it's good governance, it's transparency, it's accountability. But how come you gave me this water down legislation and why apply in the UK in here? Man, stop telling me nonsense, please. I beg. Bring it up. Bring it up to standard, Mr. Speaker. Because our people deserve better. And Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that we are here to this point, that we are having this debate. I'm still sad, Mr. Speaker, that we didn't have the opportunity to do the proper public consultation and the education, Mr. Speaker, because our people deserve it. Once you pass 18, even in certain cases 16, you could be criminally charged. $5,000 fine, $100,000 fine, 5 years in jail, 1 year in jail, and then you're a criminal. So what's going to happen when all of we get locked up? Who the place for? Let that sink in. Who's going to run it? Let that sink in. The pictures up on the wall in black and white. We're going to take out the first part. Mr. Speaker, we are enough. And we got to do things right. And I believe why this piece of legislation and different forms of the bill coming in different ways, but with the same thing, with no amendments being made. And why it's been pushed, so to speak, back and back and back, and it coming back the same way. Because those before us understood. We can't sell out our people. We can't buy into this report after report from COI come, he come at him, and all he pan at them, his colleagues. Corrupt. Big report. There's corrupting even among the legislators in the BVI, the highest office of the land, and this and that, and then go down the road. Come back up the road. Go down the road, come back up. And the same thing, Mr. Speaker, so you telling me this is how you feel. And I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, just like those leaders that stood before us, this is how we feel. We're not going to back down. We're not just going to let it happen. Because when we were left to nothing, we fought to make this place something. Deal with who need to be dealt with, Mr. Speaker. Address the activities that are happening. I'm all for it. But it must be done with balance. And Mr. Speaker, the last thing I would say, 39M, reporting obligations. Accountability, transparency, good governance. Annual reporting to the governor is all that is needed. Mr. Speaker, what is it? This you know, when Minister for Works, BVIEC, submit their annual report to you. You come, you late, you review it with your team, and you late in front of the House. Premier get his report, Minister of Health get his from HSA, Minister of Education get it from, and you just late, you just get it, and that's it. For people's life, and the freedom, and their rights, and it just going to the governor. Who elected? I know he was appointed through a vigorous, what is it, a vigorous competition. Mr. Speaker, we are elected to serve the people of this territory. And I believe in serving the people of this territory. I am not, and I cannot and will not support this bill in the form that it's in, because it violates the very democracy for which our foreparents fought for. It violates and it casts aspersions on every member of this public towards criminality. Deal with who needs to be dealt with, train who needs to be trained, but put the proper measures in place that we have a fair and balanced process, because you're not guilty until you're proven innocent. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.